Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Love your neighbor as yourself. I had heard these words from this week's Torah portion, Kiddushim, words that we sang just a few moments ago, countless times, without giving them too much thought. I knew the verse was important. I had learned the teaching from Rabbi Akiva that love your neighbor as yourself is the greatest principle in the Torah. I had always thought of this verse to mean simply, treat others the way that you want to be treated. This is a beautiful teaching, and I can understand why Akiva thought it was the most important one in the Torah. This verse can inspire us to turn towards others with kindness and compassion, assuming best intentions and recognizing the divine spark within even those who challenge us. Dayenu, this in itself is enough. And then on a retreat with the Institute for Jewish Spirituality, I heard a teaching about this that completely changed my understanding. Rabbi Jonathan Slater taught us, if you are to love your neighbor as yourself, then you have to love yourself first. In other words, if you want to love your neighbor, loving yourself is a prerequisite. This blew open my understanding of the verse. Suddenly, I realized our sacred text teaches us that the way we love ourselves forms a blueprint for how we should love those around us. In which case, the question of how or if we love ourselves, uncomfortable though it may be, becomes worthy of explanation and thought. This seemingly simple teaching suggests that if we don't love ourselves, then we are at sea as to how to love our neighbors. I know that self-love can be a loaded topic, both because it is a bit of a cliche and because loving oneself is complicated. Even if we can easily and readily say that we love ourselves, we know that self-love requires ongoing thought and care at best. And for many of us, the idea of loving ourselves is unfamiliar or maybe even preposterous. So I want to offer us a pathway in to this most important principle in the Torah. First, if self-love feels far away or impossible, let's start with self-knowledge. To me, self-knowledge means turning towards our full selves with a desire to truly see what's there. What is challenging about this is that when we see parts of ourselves that we don't like, our first instinct is to turn away. This is understandable. But the tricky truth is that avoiding difficulty doesn't make it disappear. We read in last week's Torah portion, Tazria Metzora, that the community's healers needed to hine, to behold, to turn towards and focus on people's illnesses in order to offer a path towards healing. Like an ancient ailment that worsens without treatment, so too with our own internal challenges. Try to ignore them and they grow. Try to muffle them and they amplify. But turn towards them with honesty and patience and see what happens. This practice of turning towards is a way we can come to truly know ourselves. Once we step into a sense of self-knowledge, the next phase is self-acceptance. As we encounter the parts of ourselves that we don't like, let us also hold the awareness that we are created B'Tselem Elohim, in God's divine image. This is an idea we hear in Nisim B'chol Yom, our daily blessings. We recite every morning, "Blessed are you, God, who has created me in your image." I do not think there is an implied parenthesis here in this blessing that says, "except for the bad parts." Rather, we are each created in our wholeness and our complexity in the divine image. Our tradition teaches that our flaws and our darkness are holy too. I am inspired to imagine a world where we begin to practice these steps: self-knowledge leading to self-acceptance, blossoming into self-love. On the path towards loving ourselves, our love for our reacha, our neighbor, will become that much brighter and deeper. We will have more strength and energy to work for justice, to see the divine spark in even those who may not look or act or think like us, and to create a community vibrating with peace. May we learn to love ourselves so that we may love our neighbor, so that we may bring healing to the world. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha.